The SEC might break away from the NCAA. Looks like the talks are getting very real as they want more governance around NIL. Today we discussed that in the national news spectrum, and we also discussed the 7 teams we cover on the channel: Auburn, Texas, Georgia Tech, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and Texas. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for the truth. What's going on, y'all, man? Welcome back to the channel, man. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and hype up the video, man. And tell a friend, turn on those post bell notifications, man, and join and become a member today on the channel, man. It's only $3.99 a month. Y'all help a brother out, man. And continue to subscribe, man. Much love to y'all for running up all the channels and continue to watch the content videos, even though, like, sometimes I can't post every day. Life stuff happens, bro. But I appreciate y'all. But we're not going to waste no more time. We're going to go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty of the show, man. And we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the things coming for the SEC right now. This answer was clarified by the SEC commissioner, and I want to roll the clip. This is by Brandon Marcello, one of the top reporters, or say top analysts in college football. So we're going to go to roll what he had to basically say and what the commissioner clarified in this clip.
The headline that's developed, like there's some breakaway being considered, that's not actually what the answer was. So what we actually talk about is conference-led change. Right. Like, should we have different policies for ourselves that make more sense rather than simply saying we follow NCAA eligibility rules? Those conversations are real. We also understand we have a responsibility beyond just our 16. America expects March Madness to exist. They expect Cinderella story. I hate those because they're generally wins over our teams when they take place. But that attachment, that part of American culture is real. We've seen, and you saw it this year and last year in Omaha, teams that you wouldn't have expected make it through. I think that's part of the competitive expectation. I also think that if we just walked away from the NCAA, whether we're frustrated or not, we'd be back in front of Congress. That conversation. My observation to our league is that's not a priority for us. So the headline that's developed, like there's some breakaway being considered, that's not actually what the answer was. There's frustrations, and Reform is asking there has to be a better way, and we're trying to work to improve the system. One of the pieces of chaos that people would describe.
Boom, there it is, man. Hopefully I don't get copyrighted for that music they was playing in the background. I don't know why they did that, because some of it you couldn't even hear what he was saying. But basically he said, like, the whole thing comes down to is they're having talks about it, of course, but I think the whole thing is it's like we want to see adoption. We want to see Congress step up and adopt the bill. We want to see the next step of this phase because we're tired of different things happening. I think the most recent example that everybody can talk about is the Brendan Storsby situation. Betting on your own team, despite you being a freshman, despite you not playing, and it happened to come to teams saying, yeah, we're not going to schedule you. We're not going to play in a conference itself, and the Big 12 happened to come in and say what it was. Now, Finebaum has come out and said basically, the NCAA is over for you. Have no governance, no laws, no ruling. But with Congress coming in and them stepping into the fold, it adds the extra layer of protection for the NCAA. It allows them to get some of the authority back. And I ain't saying they need to be stripped of all the authority. Like some things, they were a little bit too rigid on, right? I still think players should get paid. If you're a billion-dollar organization and entity, regardless of the situation scenario, players should still be able to get paid, in my humble opinion, right? And the fact they profited off several years was just not right, right? But there should still be ramifications, stipulations, and different things you have to adhere to for that to happen, right? There needs to be things established, like even potentially a collective bargaining agreement, right, with players' unions and different things like that. So that stuff has to happen for the next growth of the sport, right? It can't go back to old. It can't be a situation scenario where we're staying stagnant, either in complacent. And I think that's what Coach Greg or what the commissioner is saying, Greg Sankey, is we have to have change, and there needs to be something that is established for that and put into place in order for it to make a difference. Like I said, while everybody's running with the headline SEC breakaway, I think it's just the SEC trying to put pressure on Congress, on the NCAA to get this thing figured out. And we're not trying to go years and years of this in situations where, like, we have to go above and beyond for something to get passed because there's no longer the authority, there's no longer the trust, there's no longer the, oh yeah, we're a law abiding making, you know what I'm saying, institution, right? And that's the situation currently that's going on right now. So I don't foresee the SEC stepping away. I just think this is one of their tactics, one of their metrics of how they're trying to establish what they want and how they want it to happen. It's too much to run, as he said there, a conference by yourself, right? And yeah, it could be all good in football, but that's in every sport, right? That's also in softball. That's also in baseball. That's also in basketball and women's basketball. That's a lot to do by yourself. So I don't think they actually want to do that. I think they want more pressure on obviously the NCAA and obviously for Congress to come and adopt the bill. That's what I think it comes down to. So that is the clarified answer. Now, staying in the SEC in national news, they're making two major rule changes for the 2026 season. Players ejected for targeting in the second half will no longer be suspended for the first half of the next game. I love that rule. I thought it was so stupid to go, it could be in the freaking first quarter of the game and you get targeting, you're out from the game, you're ejected, but then I'm also going to suspend you for the first half of the next game. I always found that rule so dumb. So I love that they're taking that major rule out of the equation. And yeah, if you get ejected, you get ejected. That's it. Now, if you want to add this rule for a repeat offender, get it. But one targeting, like, come on, bro. Why are we not allowing them to play the next game? Essentially, sometimes it could be a major SEC game. It could be, you know what I'm saying, a major conference game. It could be a major rivalry game, and we're not going to allow them to play because of what happened in the game before. I've never been a fan of that rule, man, and I'm glad they're abolishing it and they're doing away with it. Love it. Great rule. Now, this one I really like. OPI, offensive pass interference, will now result in a 10-yard penalty, right? We see that in the NFL, right? Obviously, defensive get the worst because they get a 15 yards. I'm glad in NCAA it's not a spot foul. That's one of the worst ones because then the offense gets all that yardage. But the 15-yard obviously remains. But I love that rule because we don't see OPI a lot. But when they're going and they're pushing with that hand and they're creating that separation, man, you know what I'm saying? It puts the defender who's already got the rules stacked against him in a binding situation, in a tough situation. So I'm glad that the commissioner came up with this and decided to put this into effect because the bottom line is it needed to be. And the bottom line is I think it'll sway receivers away from creating that separation with the hand and instead be more tactical with what they're doing with the route running and different things added to the repertoire, the footwork, instead of always leaning on that. We've seen the proliferation of more receivers leaning on that push off to create that separation. We'll still see it, but I think we'll see less of it with it being a 10-yard penalty and affecting and slowing down drives. All right, in my humble opinion, man. So I love the two new rule changes. Players ejected for targeting, no longer going to suspend it for the first game, and also that OPI rule result in a 10-yard penalty. So I absolutely love that for obviously great sake in the SEC, man. But hold on one second, guys. I got to do something real quick. We'll be right back. Hold on. All right, sorry about that, y'all. I had to cut down my fan. My fan was kind of loud. All right, so that is it for the national news, man. We're gonna keep it nice, short, and sweet today, man. Now we're gonna get into some of the team news, okay? Some of the team news, and we're gonna start with Georgia. I thought this was very interesting. Next round live I was able to capture this, and I want to talk just a little bit about what Kirby had to say about the Georgia wide receivers. Here we go.
That I have, how would you assess the wide receiver room heading into fall camp?
I'm just very thankful for people like you, Steve, that keep questioning them because the more you question them, the more it helps me motivate them. So everybody says that we don't listen to you guys. Well, the wide receivers are listening. So they'll have a new challenge issued based on your question.
There it is. I love it. Like Kirby doesn't run from the smoke. He basically said like, oh, okay, you're going to challenge my wide receivers, like, because there is question marks around it, right? Around Thomas Blackshear and around, obviously, Talon Taylor and C.J. Wiley and Sokovia White-Hope and some of these receivers coming into the fray now, Isaiah Canyon as well. We don't know how good it's going to be, right? Very young group. Couple veterans in there, but very young group, right? We got to see who's going to be able to step up, who's going to be some of those guys, who's going to be some of the ones. Leonard Rodon's another one as well. And I think for Kirby, it's like, yeah, thank you. You gave me another reason to motivate. Give me another reason to put this bulletin board material on this question. I thought it was a fair question. I don't think he disrespected this group. I think he was just asking honestly as a media and as a journalist. I would ask them the same thing. Like, how do you just feel about your wide receivers in 2026? That's how I would have phrased it. And I would let him go on to see like, hey, what are you seeing in practice? What have you seen in terms of, I'm saying summer workouts, right? And I think Kirby uses it as, hey, I'm gonna use it as motivation for my squad and my team, and I'm gonna show them this, right? And people are challenging and questioning you. What are you gonna do? What you gonna show this year, right? Because it's a big thing. I ain't saying the receivers was bad last year, right? They had Zachariah Branch, but when you look at this group, there's no name that you say definitively like, that's the guy. Now, I don't know if you said that last year because I wasn't covering Georgia last year, but like, I got to throw in also Caden Prothro in the equation as wide receiver too. But there's not the guy. Now, I don't know if Georgia's ever had the guy. Like, you got to go back to AJ Green days and those days when they had like top receivers. Obviously, Leab Akaki was a really good one too. But it gives them motivation because, like, who's going to emerge, right? They can obviously go with a whole bunch of different receivers, but somebody got to help out Gunner Stockton. And the wide receivers are going to have to step up. So I love the response from Kirby, and I'm sure when he gets back to Athens, he's going to bring that up and show them. People doubting y'all. What y'all going to do about it? Love it. It's a great motivation tactic. Love it. Absolutely love it because we need it to be a situation where they step up. We need it to be a situation where they take a step forward. That's just what it is. All right, here we go. Gunner Stockton, he's that dude. Let's see what obviously his teammate had to say.
Stand in the tunnel, stand for Sagan. You look out between the hedges, all that red and black yelling, "Go Dogs." Do you still get goosebumps?
Man, I still get goosebumps every game right before we go out. It's a crazy feeling, and it's a blessing to be in this position.
Final question here on the aisle.
Hey, Raylan, AP Stedham, AP as we see it. Raylan, I think sometimes people understate Gunner Stockton's ability as a quarterback. So you see him every day in practice. So how would you praise him? Tell all these folks about Gunner.
Man, Gunner is that dude. I see it every day, day in, day out in practice, on the field, off the field. I mean, he's going to be that dude to lead us.
So there you have it right there from obviously Georgia player. He's going to be the one that leads us, right? He's going to be that dude. And what that tells me is big year coming up for Gunner Stockton last season with Georgia. And for me, I think he's underrated. I've always said that. I've always thought that about Gunner Stockton. I think he's a guy that doesn't get the love that he deserves in the SEC and in college football. And you look at last year, some of them games, like he won for Georgia. Like defense struggle, wasn't playing high end, and carried them to a victory. Tennessee is the most notable example for me. It's a game that Georgia should have lost, but Gunner Stockton came up and stepped up for this group and his team, and they balled out, right? So I think for Gunner, and he's already talked about Mike Bobo being one of the best, coordinators in college football. I think for him, it's just continue to do what you do. Ball out. The running back room should be good. We know Dante Dowdell went down with an injury, but you still obviously got, several other really good players at the fold, right? I'm saying you're going to have some young freshmen and Jay Lamar to watch out for. Bo Walker's in that room as well. Go along with Nate Frazier. But for Gunner, he has the teammate support. I think for him, it's just going out, doing your job, and when they need you to win games, go win games, right? So I think the last step for Gunner is just being consistent. If he can be consistent and do what he does, Georgia should be fine. They should be a national contender this year, right? But he has the full support of his group, and I do think he's that dude. I agree with him. And I think a lot of people are going to see that this year when Georgia balls out and has a major, major season. All right? Now, we move on to Texas, right? So for Texas, one of the biggest questions is, as I pull this up, is will this offensive line be good enough this year, right? And they made a lot of changes like bringing in Melvin Siani and bringing in Lawrence Seymour as massive additions this past year. And the reason I bring them up is because while we look at some of the players they brought in, we always talk about Cam Coleman, we always talk about, Raleek Brown and Hollywood Smothers, this offensive line was not good enough last year. There was times when Arch Manning was running for his life. They need better players, man. But one thing I can tell you is that Miami Central produces guys, dudes that can play at a high level. So Lawrence Seymour, I think, is going to be an underrated guy they picked up, but he's going to help them out tremendously, right? So you're getting good beef up there, right? And then you look at tackle position and roll Melvin Siani coming over from Wyoming out there in Pennsylvania, right? Or Wyoming Seminar School from Pennsylvania. This is going to be another big pickup for them because, again, they weren't getting enough push. They weren't pass protecting well. They weren't communicating well. And you bring in two veterans that should be able to help out this group this upcoming year for Texas and should be able to take a major step forward. So I'm looking at the additions of they did everything they were supposed to do, right? Like Texas spent the money. Texas went out and got the guys offensively and defensively. Now it's putting it into practice and taking a step forward. Again, There's no excuses this year. It's natty or bust for the Texas Longhorns, and you have to be able to block and protect Arch Manning, and also what these two, I say a Porsche and a Mercedes-Benz in the backfield. You got to be able to create holes for them because they're going to do it naturally. Lee Brown and Smothers going to do it. And we didn't even mention Derek Cooper, who's a true freshman. He's going to do it too, right? So bringing in these guys, I think it's going to make a major difference for them. And this offensive line has to be much better in 2026. If they're going to be a team, if they're going to be a national championship contender, offensive line got to be much better. All right? It is just that simple. All right? Now, moving on to Tennessee, right? And one of the biggest questions that, Heupel brought up and he talked about at SEC Media Days, the QB position, right? And I love the quotes that he said. He says, I don't think there is one thing at the quarterback position. That guy's got his hands on the football every single play. You have to learn how to take care and manage the game. Catastrophic plays are the difference in this league. When you play so many one-possession games, it comes down to take care of the football at times. But they have to play on a competitive edge and distribute the football and get some playmakers on time and accurately where they have a chance to make a play afterwards. Right? That was one of his quotes he said. Now we break down that quote. That tells me, hey, you got to be a playmaker, right? Although you're the quarterback, you got to get these boys the ball, right? But in one-possession games, tightly contested games, as Tennessee faced a lot last year, you can't make the one mistake. You can't turn over the football. You can't throw it into harm's way. Yes, trust your receiver, but also at the same time, you got to make sure you handle the football because that could be the difference in you losing by 7 or winning by 7. So for him, I think he's saying in his next quarterback, we have to be better situationally, right? We have to be good in situational football if we're going to be one of them teams this upcoming season and we're going to take a step forward from an 8-5 campaign in 2025, right? And I think he's going to be looking at that. And there's going to be ups and downs because you got young guys that they ain't really played. Jordan McIntyre's played a little bit. Faison has not played college football, right? So when it comes out to it, you're going to see mistakes. But like you said, if it's a close game, 3-point game, 7-point, take care of the football, right? Guys take care of the football if this team is going to be good or be able to take a step forward. It's that simple. He also said you have to control and command of what we're doing offensively. You got to understand protections. You got to be able to check and adjust. Run game, loaded box checks. Those guys are making the decision on every play. At the end of the day, the guy that will be the guy is the guy that is going to have complete control of what we're doing and puts us in the best position to win football games and score points, right? That second quote tells me you got to be in full control. There cannot be any doubt when we look at the centerpiece of our team and our offense at the quarterback position. You have to know what you're doing. You have to step up, and you have to put us in the right scenarios and situations for us to help, right? And it's more than just, oh, yeah, we got to score points and we got to do things. You have to check, right? You have to be able to look at defensive coverage and say, oh, they're running a cover 4 or they're running a cover 3 cloud, right? Or they're blitzing all of their linebackers, but then they're dropping back in the zone coverage. You have to identify all that and picture what you're seeing and be able to quantify that and being able to break that down to where everybody on the team knows with one quick check, right? So that's important. That tells me you have to be in the film room, right? You're going to have to be able to study, right? You're going to have to be able to know and decipher what you're seeing. You have to be able to ask questions, check the offensive line protection, right? It's a lot of different nuanced things that goes into playing the quarterback position. So why it's all getting granted, oh, he's making plays, you also have to be able to make those checks at the line of scrimmage and make the difference. Because if not, it can be a long season. But Tennessee has everything they need, both two talented quarterbacks. Heupel said he feels good about whoever he's going with, George or Faison. He might even play both to start the season. But it should be very interesting to see what happens there. All right, let's keep it moving, man. Let's go on to Kalen DeBoer. All right, he got some shots today from national media, and they continue to doubt him, right? Paul Finebaum and obviously Stephen A. Smith. But let's go ahead and roll what he had. Let's roll what he had to say on First Take today at SEC Media Days.
Kalen DeBoer has just made a mess out of a great situation. He's lost 8 games in 2 years, as Stephen A. said. He lost to Florida State last year, which was total trash, and should have fired his coach. He lost to Oklahoma and home. Yeah, he won a playoff game. He also was down 17. Oklahoma had a 17-0 lead and completely choked the game away, as Stephen and I both remember because we were talking during the game. But let's not get carried away with DeBoer. He's an excellent coach, but is he the right coach at Alabama? And Stephen A., I think you know the answer.
So to me, from that quote, and when we talk about it, I do think Kalen DeBoer gets some unjust criticism a little bit, right? Now, when Alabama fans have been pretty quiet this offseason, they haven't been saying too much. You look at the recruiting class they're bringing in, it's pretty good. He's obviously a hell of a recruiter. You're bringing up a 17-0 lead that Oklahoma had that they blew. Doesn't matter. Like that's a null and void point. It doesn't matter how much you're down. They won the game. We don't go back and question Brady when he was down 28-3 to Atlanta, right? What do we talk about when we talk about Brady? Right? We talk about, oh, they won that game. That's all that matters. The 17-0 point is null and void, right? Yes. First year they went 9-4. They also beat number 2 Georgia at the time. And also shut out, obviously, Missouri in that 9-4 season that he had in 2024. This past year, to me, was a successful year. You won 10-plus games and you got to a CFP. Yeah, you got your butt whipped by Georgia in the SEC championship game. I get it. But you still got in, right? I think it went 10-3 or 10-4, whatever it was. It was a successful year. You won a playoff game on the road. You was down getting your butt whipped 17-0. Your team could have faulted. You could have lost the game 38-0. You didn't. You came back and you won. So this notion of Kalen DeBoer isn't the right coach or he can't lead Ben, we don't know yet, right? Saban was good with Alabama, but it takes time to build a program, y'all. I get it's Alabama. I get they're one of the best teams, ever, and programs ever. I get it. Get a man some time. He just won a playoff game. Yeah, they got beat by Indiana. Didn't Oregon get dog walked by Indiana? Like the only team in the playoffs that really gave them boys a fight was Miami. Ain't nobody even wanted Miami in. So when we talk about Kalen DeBoer, I feel like it's unjust. It's not fair, right? And they talked about who has more pressure to win, to reach the title game. I feel like DeBoer, if they go to a semifinals, that's a successful year, right? It takes time to build this thing. The pressure that is on DeBoer is you got to choose the right quarterback, dog. You cannot choose Austin Matt. It has to be Keelan Russell. If they ain't Keelan Russell, it's going to be a long damn year. But if they go, let's say Alabama goes regular season 12 game. Let's say they go 10-2. And let's say they win 4 of the games and they get to a semifinal, they get to a national championship. Let's just say semifinal. That's a successful year. You lost 2 games and you won 14? Or even if they don't go to, let's say the 4 games in the national championship. Let's say 13-2? Or they went 13-3? We're going to sit here and say that that's a bad year. Saban ain't winning every damn year, y'all. He didn't. Like, you're not going to win it every year. It takes time to build a program. And I feel like in the microwave society, y'all want them to win all the time. And win natties that's not real life. There's other coaches in the SEC that pressure's on, like a Shane Beamer, right? There's pressure on him. Those are the teams that have pressure this upcoming year. So to a degree, but no. We can't say an ally DeBoer is like, oh, he's terrible. He went to the national championship with Washington. And the 17-0 point, why are we discrediting him? Because he came back in a game that they were getting dominated in, but they ended up winning. So to say he's not the man for the job, let's see. Let's see what they do this year. Let's see. I just think it's unfair, man. I like Kalen DeBoer. I think it's unfair. You know what I'm saying? I think put a little respect on his name, man. And to me, like I just said, one of my key quotes was a successful season for Alabama. I think going 10-2. I think right back in the playoffs, being a top seed this year, and I think if they could get to the semifinals or close to, let's say it's one possession from getting to that's a successful year. You took another step forward. You know what I'm saying? You got past the first couple of rounds of the playoffs. That's a successful year. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the pressure's more on Lane because Lane went and uprooted Ole Miss. Said, screw y'all, I'm gone. And they put $50 million into that roster. And they paid him all the success that he had at Ole Miss. It's a lot of pressure on Lane. But again, your first year your first year coaching for Lane, there is pressure on him, but I don't like the question. How is it pressure if it's his first season? It's pressure. You have to do some. I think it's pressure for them to make college football playoff in the first year, but to win the championship, that's not realistic. And for DeBoer, it's he's taking steps forward. Now, if they don't make the playoffs this year, yeah, y'all right. What do they do? Relax. Put some respect on that man. That's all I'm saying. Put some respect. All right, last SEC team that we're going to talk about today. Let's talk about the Auburn Tigers. Okay. Love what he says here. I don't set goals, I set standards, right? Obviously here he is trying to establish a culture when it comes to the Auburn Tigers, right? And that culture is, you know, we can set goals all day long, but there's a standard to put on this Auburn Tiger uniform. And the reason I love, and I'm bringing obviously John Summerall in this too, I love what they're both doing at Auburn and Florida because they're coming in and establishing culture and establishing standards of both of those programs that are known in college football as being, I don't want to say dominant, but as being staples in college football. And you have to start from the ground up, and you have to be able to set a standard and say it for what it is. And I love that for Golish, he is like, we're setting standards. Like, you have to uphold this standard or you're not going to play for me. You have to uphold this standard or you won't get on that field. And to come in with an Auburn team, and I think, like I said, I did the video yesterday. I talked about running the piss out of the ball. Like, already establishing what the culture is going to be. We're going to run that football, regardless of who's the quarterback or whatever it is. We're going to be a run-heavy team, right? And you need that standard set. When they've struggled, it's always been throwing the football. So I love that he is setting a standard of what this program is going to be and what they're going to achieve this year, right? And what it is. It says a lot about the culture, and I think it says a lot about what he wants the Auburn Tigers to be, who hasn't won the championship since 2010, right? And I think he's the right man for the job. I really do. I think he has a good staff, and he's the right man for the job, and he's doing great work with Auburn to start. Now, we'll see. They're my sleeper this year. Them and Florida are my sleepers this year in the SEC when it comes down to it. And I think his message is you're going to be consistent, you're going to be accountable, and you're going to come in here every day and get excellence. It's that simple. This is what it is if you're going to play for me. If not, don't let the door hit you while you walk out. I like it, right? Set the goal. Set the standards, not the goals. Love that. Love that a lot. All right. Now, as we move on, a couple more topics before we wrap up the show today, is my Miami Hurricanes, right? And the biggest question from my Hurricanes is this, right? Can we handle the pressure, right? This is not on here. I just want to see Miami Hurricanes. Can we handle the pressure? Can we handle the hype, right? Because everybody has us winning the ACC this year. Everybody has us taking a major step forward and winning the national championship, being that conversation. And how do you handle the expectations of winning each game, right? Because there was games last year. Go back to the playoffs. They didn't have us beating Texas A&M. They didn't have us beating Ohio State. I don't think they had us beating Ole Miss either. So there was games last year where we weren't expected to win, and we ended up winning. But now you're the standard of the ACC, right? They're not looking at Clemson right now. They're not looking at Florida State right now, right? For Miami, it's you, right? They're looking at you to go to the ACC title game too. How do you handle that? Everything's there, right? My only concern is offensive line. How do you replace the Markel Bells and the Francis McGowas? How do you replace that? Right? But bring in Jackson Cantwell and some other guys to help fill that void. But now you went and got Darian Mensah, Cooper Barkate, and some of those boys to come in there and help the squad and this team. So for Miami, how do you handle that? Week one on the road, it's going to be a great test because nobody's expecting Stanford to win that game, despite them being at home. If you Miami, you struggled a little bit in those California games, right? It took a all-time effort in game by Ken Ward to win and get past California when Fernando Mendoza was the quarterback. It took a lot. So for the Hurricanes, it's like that's a game you're going to expect to win. But it's Friday, road game, California. You might go, oh, yeah, we got it. And then Stanford go and hit you in the mouth and they're up 17-0. Like, that's a reality. That can happen. You got to be ready. So to me, it's all about preparation. I love the message and model that Mario Cristobal showed when he was at ACC Media Days. Like, we haven't done jack squat with this team yet. I love it. That's the mentality you got to have. Now we just got to see that, right? You can't be smelling yourselves week one because you can get humbled quick. That's all about football. Football will humble you. So you better make sure you're prepared and you better make sure you're ready. You better make sure you ain't smelling your own shit. It's just that simple. So how does my Hurricanes handle the preseason hype? And how do they handle the expectations and pressure this upcoming year? It's the biggest question. If they can do that, they will be good this year. But if they struggle and they allow the stuff to get to them, it could be a long year for my Hurricanes. But that is one of the biggest questions when we talk about Miami Hurricanes football. How do you handle pressure, right? And the expectation to win every single game you play in. How do you handle that? One of the biggest questions, man. I can't wait to see. We're going to find out this year. And week one is going to be a great test against Stanford as you go on the road I ain't saying you playing a team that's more talented than you because they're not, but you go in there and you smelling yourself, and you're like, oh yeah, we got this game. This is nothing. We good. And they go in there and hit you in the mouth. So we're gonna see. But I believe in my Hurricanes, but we gonna see what they end up doing. All right. Last thing is the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, right? And today we're talking breakout player for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, right? And who will that be? There's several players you can go for and go with at this position. And I'm going to say breakout player this year is going to come from the running back room. And I'm going to go JP Powell, right? A bunch of names you can go with, cornerbacks. There's another cornerback I just did a video on that y'all watched that I love. But I'm going to go JP Powell. And the reason I'm going to go JP Powell is because I think he's a guy that's been waiting for his turn. But he had a very productive spring and went off in the spring game for 3 carries for 68 yards, 54-yard touchdown. And he's been waiting for his opportunity. And this is a guy that comes over, high school, had a very productive career. This was a guy they really wanted coming out of high school, a 3-star prospect, a very elite 1,000-plus-yard rusher. And for Powell, the reason it's important, why I think he's a breakout player, because they're going to build a team and a system around him, potentially in the future, right? Justice Haynes is a senior. Malachi Hosey is a junior. They could both be potentially gone after the season. Who do you build your team around if you are Georgia Tech moving forward, right? Who do you build the offense around, right? You've been known and predicated to have your culture around running the football, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I like that notion. I like that theory. I like that ideal, right? But you're going to need somebody in the future. Is that somebody go get in the portal, or is it somebody from within that you build from within, right, and that you build your team around? I think he's best equipped to do it. Yes, you got the Lamborghini and Ferrari, but I think you got a Porsche right here in JP Powell. I think he's going to be a guy with the ball in his hands that's dangerous. Quick hit maker, explosive, you know what I'm saying? Good YPC, yards per carry, right? And I think he's a guy that's underrated in terms of what he's going to be with his skill set. And he could even be a receiver for you too, be able to run routes, right? So this is a name, while we look at Haynes and we look at the bad boys with him and obviously Hosley, he's a name I think is going to have a big-time year this year for Georgia Tech. I can see him getting over 500 yards rushing this year, 300 yards receiving. And you go back and you look like, where did this guy come from? I didn't know about him. Who is this? And I think Powell is one of those guys you're going to look at and be like, yeah, he like that. He's tough. You know what I'm saying? He's a different breed. And I think he's going to show that this year. He's been training and doing the right stuff. And while he's following the radar, I'm going to put y'all up on a game of a player that's going to have a big time year. I think it's going to be Powell. It's going to fly under the radar and floor under the radar, but he's going to be a guy that has a major season and has a major role for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets in 2026. So remember the name, JP Powell. Y'all heard it from me first, man. I think a big time breakout season, you know what I'm saying, from JP Powell. And I've said it on Locked On Georgia Tech. He's a guy I think is going to break out majorly this season and have a big time fall camp and carve out a role this year in that George Godsey offense and also with running backs coach Jimmy Smith. But that's going to do it for today's show, man. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hype up the video, man. Turn your bell notifications, man, and make sure y'all holler at me for more content y'all want to see. All right? Always remember, appreciate you guys tuning in, man, to the truth. I'll see you guys in the next one.